we got the MJ of podcast guest, Mr. Three Pete. You know what I'm saying? We got Three Pete. AC Brown, the CPA, one of our favorite guests. You know what I'm saying? We try to get AC on every year around tax season, you know what I'm saying, to bring y'all these jewels as it relates to filing taxes, claiming kids that ain't yours, you know what I'm saying? And any other way we can
burying your off-seas accounts. This is the guy you need, man.
Yeah, this is the man that you need.
Cartel bosses.
He knows how to cook
accounts.
He knows how to cook those books.
Hey, I'm Chef Curry.
Hops and Stocks Podcast is presented by 100 Spoke Media Group. We encourage our listeners to drink responsibly. Please note, we are not financial advisors. We do not offer or provide financial advice.
I'm Spoke affiliated from the city of Jim.
Welcome back to the Hops and Stocks Podcast, brought to you by 100 Spoke Media Group. This is episode 70. We got our, hey man, we getting on up there, man. We 30 episodes from a milestone, our personal milestone, which is 100.
100.
Yeah, so check for that probably sometime in, I think it's September if the math is correct. We got the MJ of podcast guest, Mr. Three Pete. You know what I'm saying? We got Three Pete. AC Brown, the CPA, one of our favorite guests. You know what I'm saying? We try to get AC on every year around tax season, you know what I'm saying, to bring y'all these jewels as it relates to filing taxes, claiming kids that ain't yours, you know what I'm saying? And any other way we can
burying your off-seas accounts. This is the guy you need, man.
Yeah, this is the man that you need.
Cartel bosses.
He knows how to cook
accounts.
He knows how to cook those books.
Hey, I'm Chef Curry.
But you know, AC has been my business CPA for, I think this would be year 3 of me filing taxes with you, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Yep.
You gotta give me some more money, man. I got a whole bunch of write-offs this year. Whole bunch of write-offs. I mean, but like I said, we want to welcome AC back. Like I said, this third time in, and you know, every time I reach out to him, he's like, you know what I'm saying, I got you, bro. So I mean, it feels good to have Cast That Rock with us, and you know, I mean, has been there basically from the beginning. But before we hop into AC, you know what I'm saying, because we gonna have a special introduction of this man, because the things that have transpired over the past year, as well as most recently. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if y'all know how famous this guy is, or maybe it's his son that's the famous one. But we'll talk about that here in a minute.
I'm cool. You talking
huh?
We'll get to it.
We'll get to it. I'm gonna slide to my visual down to my man B-Dub, who's not drinking, but he's gonna review what's in this can.
Yeah. So let's kind of talk about it.
Sort of talk about it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna sort of talk about this beer. Yeah, like Eric said, I'm not gonna be drinking this beer tonight. I got a procedure to do in the morning, so I gotta be sober. But today's offering is from Sycamore. It's called Caribbean Stout.
Ooh.
Coming in at 7%. This is a much better offering than I did week 1 of Black History. And once again, I apologize for that poor chasing that beer.
You're still apologizing for that.
But this is a stout. It's a chocolate creamy stout. It is from Sycamore, which is in North Carolina. I wish I could pour him up and tell you what it tastes like, but you will have to tune in next week to see if I is showing it or not. But pretty sure it's going to be pretty good, man.
I like the can work. Kind of as we said before, the number 7 as the ABV kind of scares me a little bit.
What, borderline 2 week?
Yeah, that's that port range.
Yeah, it is. For a stout, man, you want to be at least a 9.
Yeah, I would say a 9 maybe.
I'm double digits, man. If it's not double digits, I start turning my nose up at it.
we'll see, man. It's got some good notes, coffee, chocolate. So we'll see. So tune in next week for the Sycamore joint out of North Carolina. Stay tuned. Scott there, Blast.
All right. I took it back to I think it's one of the show's favorites, Third Eye. Out of the Natty, kind of in that Glendale, Springdale area. Tonight I have what they call Enhanced Perception. And this is a black milkshake IPA, 6.2 ABV and 22 IBUs. Let's see. See if I can give you a couple of readings. It says this brain teaser of a beer starts dark and intimidating, but each sip reveals more than meets the eye. The roasted malt base adds to the sweetness from mounds of marshmallow and vanilla. Lactose and a touch of hop aroma round out the body of this confusing yet enjoyable beverage. And when they say black milkshake, you see it. So,
Pepsi.
And I'm definitely getting that vanilla on the nose. I think the first time I got a whiff, it reminded me of a root beer. But now, it's more of that vanilla. So we're going to see, man. I like milkshake IPAs. I ain't never had a black one, but here we go.
Yeah. That's kind of got me curious.
Oh, man. It's pretty fire. I don't think the color per se makes it taste any different. It definitely kicks up some of those familiar milkshake notes. Most notably, the vanilla is strong, and you're getting that roasted coffee. I think they called it roasted malt. It's coming off kind of as a coffee note, and it says it's got marshmallows too. So you're getting a little bit of all of that. I think on the grading scale, I think I'm gonna give this a 4 1/4. They nailed the color, obviously, as you saw. I don't know if I necessarily know what malt tastes like, but they got the sweetness with the marshmallow and the vanilla, and it is hoppy, as evidenced by the 22 IBU. So I think it's a good, solid offering for 4 1/4, man. Pick you
What's
up.
the ABV?
6.2.
Yeah, you gotta take that down a notch, then, man. Just for the week.
Oh man, I'm not an ABV thought, man.
Well, see, I am, man. That's exactly what I am, man.
I believe there's good brews at all range, man.
I've thought from day one, man.
Although I do question your 7% ABV.
Yeah, man.
I guess I am an ABV thought.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Blast.
I was gonna say I'm gonna shoot it over to Eat a review.
No, I was before I get started, I was in my little spot this weekend looking at a bunch of new stuff, and I almost grabbed something because the can art got me. I looked at the APV, it said 4.5. I immediately put it back. I was like, man, I just can't drop, you know what I'm saying, $5-6 on 4.5, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, my beer range starts at 7. Like, if it ain't at least 7, then yeah, I'm probably not rocking with it.
4.5 is bum juice, man. Can't have that.
What is Budweiser in the 4s?
Bud is 5, and then Bud Light is 4.5, and then I think Ultra is 4.
Yeah, we used to love it too, man.
Yeah, so it's like for it to start off at craft for me, but a lot of the like seltzers and a lot of the some of them lighter lagers that they produce, you know what I'm saying, craft wise, they be like 4.5, or I've seen some 3.5, and I'm like, hey man, you trying to serve me some water? Like,
man, yeah. What's the point?
Yeah, like there's a reason why I sip these brews, just to get a little feeling.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna hop into a semi-review / Black History Month read. I am going to preface this by I literally just found this article and I am not prepared. Work's been kicking my behind. But a lot of people are familiar with the initiative Black is Beautiful.
Yep.
This was an initiative that was started by Weathered Souls. Marcus B., who was the founder and head brewer there, started this initiative to bring, you know what I'm saying, attention to basically police brutality and injustice. This particular offering is from Yazoo, which is down here in Nashville. Several different breweries around the country participated in this initiative. I believe it was 2 years ago. I haven't seen any new ones released this year, nor do I. Did they do any last year?
I don't think so. It's possible that Street Side did a throwback.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't think there's been no wide release.
What you mean, like released it this year?
Yeah, I don't think I've seen any new ones, but I don't remember at what time period they was released the first time. I know I still have several. Street Side was one, and I got some Southern Grist as well.
They definitely read up on it. I don't know if has been another brewery that's collaborated with them this year, but they definitely read up because
Street Side,
Street
Side re-upped.
I'm not sure who did it, but my honey hole ran out because I cleaned them out, and this year they read up, so I don't know who did it.
Gotcha.
Okay. So once again, several breweries participated in this initiative. And one of the things that they asked was that you donate 100% of the beer's proceeds to local foundations that support police brutality reform and legal defenses for those who have been wronged. Or you can choose your own entity to donate to local organizations that support equality and inclusion. Once again, I apologize for not being more in depth with this review, but here's what it looks like. Obviously, looks like motor oil. This is checking in at 10%.
Ooh.
Weathered Souls provided the recipe to all of the breweries. I do notice that a couple, I don't know if they went off script, but the ones from Street Side, I believe, had like macadamia notes in it. This one just says Imperial Stout, ABV 10%. So let me get a little sip.
Shout out to Weathered Souls. I believe that's Carolina based. Maybe Charlotte.
I think you're right.
Okay, so yeah, that's 2 Charlottes in the house then.
No, okay. Shout out to Charlotte.
Okay, so this particular offering, this is not really what I want in a stout. The ABV is cool.
Positivity about Black History Month, and then you just gonna ish on.
Hey man, but I gotta be real, man. Like I can't just because it's black, I can't say it's fire.
You and B-Dub are making a mockery of Black.
Man, I'm not making a mockery. Like I support the initiative, but I'm
messing with you.
I'm here to review.
I'm trying to make good television, baby.
I'm here to review the beer. You know what I mean? This is just a little light for me. It's light on the coffee note, light on the chocolate. I'm getting more porter, which everybody knows I'm not a fan of porters. Hold on. Yeah, it's been out for going on an hour. I took it out at 6 o'clock, my time. And it's just not really doing enough for me. Now, once again, I've had other offerings from other breweries that were fire, you know what I'm saying, under this Black is Beautiful label. But this particular one just isn't doing it for me. Truth be told, like Yazoo for me, that's like stouts really ain't their thing. You know what I'm saying? They have a lot of better offerings, not necessarily up under the stout style of beer. So I like Yazoo as a brewery. I just don't think they nailed this one. I gotta keep it real with the folks, man. 375, man.
Is this right on par with their other stouts?
I don't even really rock with their stouts because when I've had some of their stouts in the past, they kind of fall flat. They're one of the larger local distributors, so you can go in any Kroger's and find like all of their offerings. I like one of their beers is called Dos Perros. That's pretty good. Then they have an IPA. I think it's called Galaxy IPA or something like that. That's decent. It's just, I mean, you can tell the way it's moving. Like it don't have no body to it.
Yeah, it ain't fat boyish. It's like ass.
Yeah, it don't got no body to it, man. Once again, I am not ishing on the initiative because this was a necessary initiative, and I have had Street Side's offering was fire. I know that, and Southern Grist was fire.
Oh, yeah.
But this one just falls a little short, man. So shout out to Black is Beautiful, Weathered Souls,
Yazoo.
Yazoo. This just wasn't the one for me. I'm saying we're gonna
Yeah, man.
Hold
Throw
on.
it to AC, man. AC, put some soul back into this podcast.
we'll have to have AC bring up the rear,
Yeah.
man.
What was
Yeah,
the
so-
what was the review again? What was it? What was the
Yeah,
review?
how many mugs did you give it?
I gave it 3.75.
375.
375.
Yeah, it just ain't doing it for me. But like I said, we wanna.
You always say 375 is the cop out, man. What's your real?
All right, man, 3.5,
Yeah,
man. I was trying to give it a quarter for Black History Month, man. It's 3.5. You know what I'm saying? Y'all want transparency. This is
3.5. I respect it. I respect it.
This is
Us as black folks, we don't want no handouts, man. Give us the real.
this is a legit 3.5. Like, I'm gonna drink it. I don't enjoy this beer. It's okay. It's not like gross or nothing. It's just when I want a stout, this ain't what I would reach for. It's giving me porter vibes. And once again, anybody that's watched any episode knows I don't really rock with porters.
We
3.5, man. I'll stand on it.
Yeah, we kind of anti-porter over here, dog.
Man, I'm not anti-porter, man. I love everything, man.
Oh yeah, but like I said, man, we want to introduce our distinguished guest.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Every time I open my Instagram timeline, this dude is rubbing elbows with Michigan's higher ups, whether it be, Congress folks, you know what I'm saying, the community people. I mean, AC is probably in the Detroit Times at least 3 times a week. At least, at a very minimum. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Representing
That's impressive.
the John L. Group.
Give him all the flowers, man.
Yeah.
Every time I see him, he got that bass and he doing kind of
he be clapping at church.
I'm like, hold on, man. Is that gospel bass or is that like
It's a gospel.
like, man, I'm pretty sure that's a Too Short chord you playing right there.
I mean, but seriously, all jokes aside, man, AC and his brothers, you know what I'm saying, part of the John L. Group, they are doing phenomenal things in the Michigan area. You know what I'm saying? I first met AC through his brother Jay. I've been knowing Jay since back in, can't remember, 3 or 4 years ago, actually more than that, probably about 5 or 6 years ago. He introduced me to his brother, man, and had always told me about the things that they were doing as a family. And I like I said, I appreciate when I look and see how y'all brothers are moving and the things that y'all are getting accomplished. The other day, I'm flipping through my timeline, and I see TSU band wins a Grammy. I was like, wait a minute, what? And I was just like, TSU band wins a Grammy. First and foremost, I didn't realize that college bands could win Grammys. So I hit AC. I'm like, because I know his son plays in a band at TSU. And I'm like, TSU won a Grammy? He humble brag. He's like, oh yeah, they won 2. I was like,
Mic drop.
I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. How does this even happen? And you're the dad of a Grammy Award winning musician.
That's how you got to introduce him. Grammy Award winning.
Yeah. So I humbly and respectfully bring to y'all Grammy Award winning daddy
Papa. Yeah.
AC Brown from the John L. Group. Welcome to the pod, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, hey, listen, fellas. It's always a pleasure to get on and to I'm headed into GOAT status on podcasts.
You already there.
I'm there. Once you get 3, that's a dynasty, baby. That's what it is. So this is my 3rd go around. Thanks again for you guys for this to be the 70th episode. I follow you guys. I listen to your podcast every now and then. I'm hopping on. I'm checking out the beers because I'm a craft beer guy myself. So I want to hear what good stuff is out there. So and then some of the guests that you have on are highly intelligent people talking finances, talking accounting, talking, this is just such a great platform to keep it real, and your guests that you have on your show keep it real. So I appreciate what you're doing and the longevity. I mean, it's one thing to say we're gonna do something, but to kick it off and then continue it just shows the stick to itiveness and whatnot. So I applaud you all for that. I'm gonna do my beer review before I get into this.
Hey, thanks for that love you showed us too. We appreciate that.
Yeah. So this is Pastry Archie. Let me see.
There you go.
There you go. Okay, Pastry Archie. It's an almond brittle imperial stout. Okay. So the AV on it is 8.3. So it just barely made it. Okay. It barely made it. It's by Dull Claw Brewing Company.
I've heard them before. I can't think of where they out of.
They're out of Baltimore, Maryland. So we're gonna stay on the East Coast. So we was in North Carolina. We're just gonna go up north a little bit to Baltimore, Maryland. So it's got caramel notes in it as well. When I took my first sip, I could definitely get the almond brittle note. Okay. So it's real heavy on that end. It does have a little body with it too, because I'm just looking at the can. I didn't pour it in a glass, but I can see the dark stout still, resonating around the rim. So it's pretty good. I actually like it. I'm not gonna give it a 5, but I'm gonna give it a 4. It's something that I can enjoy. I would pair this with probably a Maduro cigar. I would pair this with a Maduro. I like a heavier cigar, so that Maduro is real. To me, it pairs well with stouts. So So that's my review. Shout out to Dull Claw Brewing Company out of Baltimore, Maryland.
I think we had some Dew Claw at the that beer event at the beer fest.
I know I've definitely seen the name before.
Yeah, I think I reviewed them a time or two on here. I got hip to them when I was in Virginia one time and picked them up at a Kroger.
Okay.
Yeah. Solid offer. Solid.
Yeah. So I give it a solid 4. Solid 4.
Sipping on some of that Avon Barksdale.
But AC, you know what you're here for, man. Tell us what's the latest and greatest with taxes for the 2022 filing year.
Some of that tax tea.
Last year we was dealing with what stimulus payments.
Yeah, we're dealing with. Last year was a lot going on, right? So you had the stimulus payment that was made in 2020, 2021, and then you had the issue where the IRS issued those
child
tax credit, not refunds, but free.
Yeah, it was paying ahead.
It was paid for. It was paid. That went away. The biggest thing, and IRS just came out with a report. Unfortunately, the sad news is that most refunds are down about 11%. So refunds are down 11%. I'm spending a lot of time talking to my clients about tax planning. And this is when the rubber meets the road, because you have I'm gonna flex a little bit, okay? So there's a difference. There's a difference between tax preparers, tax professionals, and CPAs.
Yeah.
Okay. So tax preparers, most of the time, there's some requirements for continuing education if you have a PTIN, a preparer tax identification number. So a lot of your tax preparers who are not doing it out their house, but they're you're going to a tax business and you're preparing those taxes for payment. They have a preparer tax identification number. And so they take your tax documents, they enter into the system, they review it, and then the system spits out, a number, and it's a refund or you owe. Okay. That they don't provide tax advice to you. They just prepare your tax. They just prepare your taxes. Okay. That's the first level. You got a second level, which is one credential for a tax professional is an enrolled agent. We call them EAs, enrolled agents. That's a credential. That's a credential that is offered by the IRS. You can take a course. You can take courses and get licensed and get your enrolled agent license. They're important because they can actually represent you before the IRS. They're not authorized to issue financial statements, etc., but they can prepare a tax return and represent you before the IRS. Okay. And they can provide tax strategies for you that you can use. The next level, which is the highest level, you got tax lawyers who specialize in tax law, and then you have CPAs, certified public accountants. Not all CPAs are created equal, but all of us have gone through taxation at all levels, from individual to corporate to partnerships, S corps, you name it. That's a part of our training as we get credentialed. In addition, CPAs are authorized to issue financial statements that will be used by third parties. Actually, CPAs are the only accountant that is authorized to have an opinion on a financial statement, issue financial statements that banks and other third-party entities may use. Okay. In addition to just the financial statements, CPAs are also able to offer that tax advice, that tax strategy. And this is where it kind of comes into play, because I tell my clients, your tax return shouldn't be a surprise to you. If we implemented our tax strategy, then your tax strategy for 2022 should bear out when you file your 2022 tax return in 2023. So a lot of my clients, especially my business clients, and individual clients, more sophisticated clients, we go through this tax strategy. What I'm finding out is that some of the clients, especially my new clients who didn't have this tax strategy last year, they didn't change their exemptions. They didn't change the W-4. And so the way the tax laws are now from payroll, everything kind of changed in 2018. If you haven't updated your W-4 in a while, your W-4 is the form where if you're employed by an employer, this is your withholding. This is what you tell your employer that you're withholding. So, do I have sharing rights?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen because I think it's important. I think it's important that I share this.
There's more GOAT activity right here. I think we've only had one other guy take over the screen.
Well, I'm only taking over the screen because it's important.
No,
right,
so I feel you. It's nice and crisp on my screen too.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so this is a W-4. This is the simplest, this is the form. If you have not completed this form and you have not updated it in a while, I would recommend that you go to your employer and you just review it. It's very simple. It's your name, your address, and then right here in box C, you'll do your filing status. So if you're single, you would just mark that box. If you're married and you're going to be filing joint with your spouse, mark that box. Head of household, mark that box. Okay. That's the easy part.
He said, "Where's the box for if you're in a little bit of a situation?"
If you're in a situation, if you're in a situationship, okay, you're still gonna mark the box that says single.
Okay.
Hey,
he needed that clarification.
Hey, but I'm telling you, that designation does not work in real life. You try to tell your situationship that you single? Oh.
Yeah, this is only for filing purposes.
Yeah, you gotta tell them it's for tax purposes.
It's only for tax purposes.
For tax purposes, baby, I'm single.
Can you be single and head a household?
No, so that's a great question, B-Dub. The answer to that is no. So you're either single or you're head of household. To claim head of household, you need to be unmarried, all right, and have a qualifying dependent or have a head of household qualifier. What I mean by that is if you have a child that you're providing care for, and that child lives with you for 6 months out the year, and you provided care for that child. They pass the residency test, they pass the relationship test, and they pass the support test. You can file head of household as long as you're unmarried.
Okay.
In addition, the tax law also provides a provision for individuals who care for their parents or close relative that may not live with them. So you may have a mother who isn't necessarily your dependent, but you're taking care of her. You're providing care for her. You can use her as a head of household qualifier. So she's not your dependent, but because you're providing support to her, she can qualify you can qualify to file head of household as a qualifier. So it's either or, but the caveat to both filing statuses is you have to be unmarried. If you're married, but you're not filing together, then the default is married filing separate. Okay. And I've had situations where I've had a couple say, well, my husband filed, or I file head of household, my husband filed single. And my first question is, do you all live together? And they say yes. And I say, well, if you live together, then either you're filing married joint or you're filing separately. You can't file single and then head of household. So just to clear that up, that's the legal lawful way to file your taxes. Okay.
Gotcha.
But the second part of this form, this W-4 form, many of us may have second jobs, or you mark this box, you're married joint, and box 2 says, do you have multiple jobs or does your spouse work? Right? So if this is the case, then there's a worksheet that you have to work out, and it starts right here on page 4. This is the part that probably 95% of people that fill this form out just never looks at.
Yeah, just ignore it.
They just ignore this part. And this is how you get in trouble, especially if you're a W-2 employee. So what you do is you take the higher paying job salary. So if you like you way down here, right? you way down here, right? And so you got your spouse, and your spouse is way down here, right? So what we do is, okay, let's say you make you're between $100,000 to $150,000, and you have a spouse that's making, anywhere from, let's say, $60,000. So we start right here, and we go across to right here, where you're at the 60 to 70,000 mark. At this intersection point is this $10,610. That's an important number. Okay. You take that $10,610 and you complete this worksheet. And if you've got 3 jobs, then you do the same thing and you kind of go down here. But just keeping things kind of simple. You got, let's say you get paid every other week. So you get 26 pay periods. We're going to take this $10,600. We're going to divide it by 26. My math, if serves me correctly, should be like 500 something or just under 500, maybe 400. You can make my. Yeah, 400. So this is $408. That $408, you take this 408 and you bring it down to this box right here.
What box number is that, AC?
This box number 4C.
4C, the extra withholding. Okay.
Yep, the extra withholding. The extra withholding is going to save your life. You're going to see less in your paycheck, but I guarantee you won't owe $10,000 tax bill to the IRS.
Yeah.
Because it accounts for your job and your spouse's job. If you're single and you're working 2 jobs, one job you may be making $100,000, and the other job you may be making, it's a side gig, so you may, make $20,000-$30,000, but you have to go through this worksheet right here, and you find your filing status. So if you're single, and that same scenario plays out where you're making $100,000 and maybe on your side gig you're making anywhere from 20 to 30, you're making less than 30. Right here is that 5,300. You take that 5,300 and you work you work that same magic right up here. But the importance is that you get the 408 right, or you get this number right, and you enter it on box 4C. And over here to complete the form, step 3 is you look and see, okay, will my income be $200,000 or less? Or if you're married, $400,000 or less. You take the number of qualifying children that you may have. So if you have 2 children, they're both under the age of 17. You take $2,000 multiplied by 2,000, you got $4,000. And then you would enter that right here. And that's how you complete this form.
AC, does this apply to 1099 as well?
Yeah, so great question. The short answer is no, because when you're 1099, you're considered a contracted, a non-employee contract worker, and you become 100% responsible for the taxes on that money. So you have no federal income taxes withheld. You have no payroll taxes withheld. You're 100% on the hook. If you are a 1099 employee, that's when you need a tax professional to come in and kind of help navigate how your taxes need to be paid. Do we need to set up quarterly estimate payments? Do we need to, how does the state play out? Those types of things. And if you're 1099, my suggestion is for you to really think about starting a business and making it a business so you can deduct some of those business expenses. If you're using your cell phone to, you're a contracted employee and you're using your cell phone, right? Well, that's how your people get a hold to you. That can be a legitimate, business expense. So we're writing off your cell phone bill. If you travel, the miles that you travel for while you're doing your job, those types of things, we're taking those off as well. But I'm a musician. Eric talked about it, and Blast talked about it. I'm a musician, and so I get paid every week to play. So because I'm a musician, any expense that I incur to do my job, I'm writing off. So I play guitar. So I have to have clean strings. I have to have new strings. So I'm writing my strings off. If I gotta get a repair done on my guitar because it got damaged and I need a repair done, I'm writing that repair off. I'm depreciating my guitar because I'm using that instrument to earn money and it depreciates. Yeah. So if I paid $2,000 for a guitar, I'm going to depreciate that because I'm using that to earn money. And I've set up a legitimate AC Entertainment LLC to write that off. We're doing LLCs and S corps all 2023. That's what we're setting up. We're setting up LLCs and S corps all 23 to leverage the tax laws so that we can minimize the impact of taxes.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah. So, I mean, many of your viewers have probably already started like small businesses.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go next.
You started small businesses. Maybe you got a DBA. Maybe you didn't go the whole LLC route. You just went down to the county building and got a DBA. Congratulations on starting that business. But now how do we move from making it a hustle to a legitimate business? Because many of us started our businesses as it's kind of like our side hustle. It's something I was doing on the side and I started getting clients and now I'm making some money. What do I do? Well, first question I'm going to ask you is how are you tracking your income and expenses?
I'm going to tell you what I do. I keep it all.
Yeah.
I ain't paying them country boys nothing.
I can speak from personal experience without divulging too much of my personal business, but obviously I work a corporate job and I do, fairly decent with my corporate gig. So if I didn't have my business, I'd be owing some ish, Yeah. But having my business and having that LLC allows me to I think AC got me like $32 last year. I'm not complaining because I didn't owe. Because if I didn't have that business to write off, all of those losses, like I would have been on the hook for, $4,000 or $5,000 in taxes based upon my corporate gig, my income. So I definitely am a proponent of people starting LLCs and not to try to cheat the system, but it's valid and it's a legit way to reduce your tax liability.
Yeah.
I like what you said, AC, about not being surprised when your taxes come around. It reminds me of something my father taught me. And full disclosure, AC, I'm a bit of a tax nerd. My dad taught me how to do my taxes probably when I was a teenager. So I know it's a beatdown for a lot of people, but I enjoy tax season and I enjoy doing my taxes. It's kind of like this long, intricate math problem, and you get to the end, and you get the number or whatever. But he would always tell me, people will get these big refunds and they'll be excited. I'm getting $4,000, $5,000 back, but he was like, that's money that you should have gotten already. If you had your taxes, your documents, like you showed us, your W-4 in line. He was like, ideally, you want to owe nothing at the end of the year, and you don't want to get nothing at the end of the year because that means that you got every dollar you were supposed to get during the year. And I was like, that was just wise words by the old man. And, hearing you say the part about planning ahead, ideally, you want to plan ahead so you can, get what you're supposed to get through the year and not have to wait until the next year in, March or April to get back some money that was already yours.
Yeah. The tax return itself. So the federal income tax return itself in its simplest form is a reconciliation form. You're reconciling information that the IRS has already received. They already get the copy of your W-2 and your 1099s. Your employer submits that to the IRS by January 30th or January 31st every single year. So the IRS already has your W-2 information. They have your mortgage statements because the mortgage company sends it to the IRS. They have, your medical premiums, all that stuff that you paid. The IRS already has that information. The tax return tells the story of what the IRS doesn't know. Okay, and then also you are to reconcile and report information, like, for instance, if you got a state refund last year, that's taxable income for you this year. So you got to report that on your 2022 tax returns. If you got a 2021 state refund, the IRS is expecting that refund that you got last year to be reported on this year's tax return as income. Okay, and so it's a reconciliation.
Dirty mofos, man.
Uncle Sam, like I was watching the news this morning, and they were saying that you should hold off on filing your taxes this year.
Yeah, so part of the reason is because, and I'm going to get into this, and this kind of comes into what are the major changes in tax laws this year. The biggest change is that all those credits that you got from 2021 and 2020 and 2021, they all revert back to 2019 numbers. So, for instance, the child tax credit for 2021, you could get up to $3,600 per child if they were under the age of 6, and if they were over the age of 5 but under the age of 17, you got $3,000. So the IRS increased your child tax credit up to $1,600, depending on their age. Well, for 2022, that credit goes back to $2,000. So you lose $1,000, or you could possibly lose $1,600 in tax credits, right? The IRS also made the child tax credit 100% refundable in 2021. That's not necessarily the case this year. It could be refundable or it could not be refundable. It just depends on if you have additional child tax credits. But that's a major change. The other change is with the dependent care. The dependent care, so if you pay for daycare, you got it. It was very liberal last year. I think the maximum you got last year was like $4,000. Well, that credit goes back to its 2019 state, and that's maximum $1,000. So you could lose $3,000 in tax credits in 1 year.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So I'm explaining to clients, hey, I know you got, $3,000 or $4,000 back last year, but your refund this year is going to be, $1,500, $1,700. Hey, these are the numbers. But the biggest change that happened, and it happened with the infrastructure bill, was this $7,500 tax credit for purchasing electric vehicles. Okay. The reason why the IRS is asking people or telling people, you may want to hold off on filing is because all of the states haven't finalized how they're going to treat the electric vehicle credit. The maximum credit for federal filing tax purposes is $7,500. So I did actually have one client, he lives in California. He bought that Mustang Mach 8.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's a $60,000 vehicle. It's a $60,000 vehicle. But he qualified for a $7,500 tax credit. So when I did his tax return, we reconciled it, did his tax return, he got back $11,000. So, that was, but $7,500 of that was due to
the credit.
The credit. Now he spent $60,000 to get a $7,500 credit, but you know, if you so if you ain't got 60 grand, all right, you know, that's a different story. But he got the tax credit. The issue though is the state of California hasn't finalized their state tax return yet. So I couldn't file his state tax return because California hadn't released it.
Gotcha.
So the IRS is saying, hey, if you live in one of these states where it's kind of up in the air how these credits and stuff is going to work, you may want to hold off. You could be fine for the federal. But from that state standpoint, you know, there could be some issues. And another reason why they're also delaying. So Congress back in 2018, Congress stated that if you have a refund that is related to earned income credit, your earned income tax credit, or an advanced child tax credit, if your refund is based off earned income credit or the additional child tax credit, then the IRS will not authorize or accept those tax returns until mid-February. So if you get a earned income credit, the IRS is not going to process that refund until the 18th of this month. So as of Friday, the IRS will start accepting tax returns that have EICs, which means you won't get your refund until the end of February or early March. So, you know, that's another, you know, topic of conversation that I have to have with clients as well. And so you have, you know, to get beyond that, you know, I have my own thoughts about, you know, these loans that they say is you know, free, no fee, no interest. I have a problem with that because if something happens to that tax return or that refund, if you have a delinquency or you have a lien against that your tax return, if you don't get that full tax return, then you're still on the hook for that loan.
So you're talking about like things that like H&R Block promotes, like you can take a loan against your tax.
Right, yeah. I wasn't gonna name names, but yeah.
Man, throw them under the bus.
We keep it real here, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Tax beef, man. Tax beef.
Yeah, no, but you know, some of these tax preparation companies, these larger companies, they have the backing. I mean, they're backed by banks and everything like that. So it's not their money that they're lending out. It's the banks, and the banks use that as leverage, you know, for tax purposes. You know, but if something happens to that tax return, the IRS, if there's a lien against that return, you're still on the hook for that loan.
Yeah.
You know, so that's something to look out for as well. So those were the major changes. The major changes is really there's not a lot of new credits out here this year. It's just the clean vehicle credit. That's a $7,500 credit. The biggest change is that from 2019, those initial credits that were expanded in 2021 they revert back to the 2019 levels. Refunds are down 11%.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of crazy that, you know, you would take something back to 2019. I mean, we were in a whole different economic state at that point in time, and you know, you hear about inflation and all that stuff on the news. I'm like, it's a bad time to be rolling back people's credits.
Yeah. I tell you know, Uncle Sam giveth and Uncle Sam taketh away. So you know, they you know, the U.S. government will tell you, you know, we got to balance our budget too. Whether we believe that or not, you know, that's up for debate. But you know, they have to present a balanced budget too. And you know, there was this discussion. There's been discussions about, you know, do you do a fourth round of stimulus money? I think honestly, if you ask me my opinion, that stimulus was a once in a generation government spend.
Yeah.
That's not coming back.
No.
I don't see that coming back at all. So this is where tax strategy and tax planning comes into play. And like you said, Will, understanding, getting that W-4 right. If you have a business, getting your business accounting right. So last year, my brothers and I, we had an opportunity to service 25 small businesses in the city of Flint, free of charge to them. It was grant funded. We partnered with a local community group, and they paid for 25 small businesses. They paid for us to get all their banking accounts reconciled, get them on an accounting system. We're QuickBooks Pro advisors, so we utilized Intuit, QuickBooks. So we got them on QuickBooks, got their bank accounts connected, got their bookkeeping done, and for the first time for many of them, they were issued financial statements so they could see where their business is in real time. You know, I'm a huge advocate for small businesses. I think small businesses is really the lifeline and bloodline of the United States economy. In the state of Michigan, small businesses represents 65% of all employment in the state. Small businesses, according to the Small Business Administration, is any company that makes less than $50 million. Jeez. So you make $50 million or less, you're still considered a small business. So small businesses in the state of Michigan account for 65% of all employment in the state. So any tax incentives, any opportunities there is for small businesses to grow, I'm a huge advocate. But I also know that small business owners don't like the accounting aspect of it. You know, you're great at what you do. I can guarantee you that if you're making craft brews, you hate accounting. You're good at making craft brews. You know, I hate accounting, but it's a necessary evil because you got to know where your profit margins are. You got to know how much money you're making versus how much money you're spending. Am I in the red or am I in the black? If you're in the red, we got a concern. If you're in the black, then, you know, let's look at profit. Let's look at retained earnings. Let's now look at what your tax liability is looking like.
Yeah.
So, you know, those are important aspects this year for accounting for tax purposes. It's not a sexy year. It's not. It's not a sexy year at all.
One thing that I want to throw out there, because actually, like many moons ago, this is probably 1 or 2 decades ago. Like I used to work for a tax prep company, and like the fees that we would charge people, you know what I'm saying, just to prepare their taxes was like crazy. So say somebody, you know, would get a $3,000 or $4,000 refund check. Like the charges that we would charge would be anywhere between like $600, $700, $800 to file it. Seriously, it was a local franchise in Dayton. And when a lot of times the people that was filing those taxes, like they were in positions where they needed that money ASAP. So they was willing to give up $1,000 to get $3,000.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, working with AC, that's not what I pay for his services. And when you think about utilizing an actual CPA, you think like, hey man, I can't afford one. And I ain't gonna lie, when I first went into it, I was like, oh man, he gonna bust me. Because I was so used to seeing those numbers from when I worked at a tax service. Yeah. I'm thinking like I'm working with a legit CPA now. He gonna be more than that.
More than that, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But, you know, and once again, I'm not gonna put your pricing out there because I'll let you discuss that with any future clients. But it's affordable, man. Like me personally, like I used to use TurboTax. You know what I'm saying? And I'll still spend like $100 with TurboTax. And it's just like, if I can have a certified CPA looking over my stuff and I can pick up the phone and talk to them or call them or text them and say, hey, I got a question about this. And it might be outside of tax season. I believe AC said this on a podcast before. It's like, yo, I'm your CPA for the year. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just a one-time deal, one-shot deal. Like, hey, I did your taxes and see you next year. You know, I text AC every blue moon, like, hey, can I do this in my business and then do this? He respond right back, like, yeah, like, that's legit. You know what I'm saying? So definitely, I'm an advocate for having a CPA. Once again, the cost isn't exorbitant. It's not something crazy that you think that it is. And it's well worth it to have somebody that you can call and be like, hey, you know, I need help, or can you assist me with this? And they're, like you said, you're legally allowed to give me advice as it pertains to financials.
Yeah, no. So you bring up a great point, and this is something that you know, this is something that I advocate for the accounting industry. I'm one of the things that I do. Governor Whitmer, Gretchen Whitmer, appointed me as a board member for the Michigan Board of Accountancy. So, yeah. So, but
he said, yeah.
Like, get damn straight.
Man, he's like more like this.
Hey, I'm in the gym.
You are.
More flex.
Yeah. No, but part of my position though on the board is to be an advocate for the accounting field. I represent in an advisory capacity 5,000 CPAs in the state of Michigan, right? And so when you start looking at these numbers and we know kind of who the offenders are, you know, even in the CPA field, you know, we know how much the average cost of a tax return should be, a reasonable, you know, the time it takes, etc. There's very little reason why a person with a W-2 income, maybe one W-2, a child, you know, there's very little reason why they should be paying more than $300 for their tax return. And I'm saying $300, and it better be something else with it. Like there needs to be some level of assurance, some level of audit assurance. If something happens to that tax return, who do I call? You know, if I get a letter from the IRS, you know, are you licensed to represent me before the IRS? You know, or do I have to go at this alone? My sense is, you know, at least at the John, I can only speak for myself, but at the John L. Group, we value the client relationship, you know, and I can say that since the pandemic, I mean, we've been growing and growing and growing. We got clients literally all over the United States because of how we care for people and the education that we try to provide our clients. I'm an educator by nature. I've got a master's in education. So I'm a educator by nature. So when I go and I talk to my clients about their tax return, I want you to know exactly what's on that tax return, because you're 100% responsible for what I submit. I'm responsible for reporting what you gave me to report accurately. But when you sign that tax return, the IRS is not going to come knocking on my door because I prepared it. They're going to come knocking on your door because you signed it. So it becomes important that whether you're self-preparing it or you're paying for someone to prepare it, it's important that you understand what's on that tax return, at least at a high level. Yeah. Does it make sense? Okay, if I made $45,000, or if I made $50,000 and I paid, you know, $4,000 in income taxes, and I have a child, and someone tells me I'm getting back $9,000. Okay. You gotta question that. Like, are you serious? Like this? How is this? How explain to me how I'm getting back 9 racks?
Do you have to question it, or do you just cast that?
Yeah, because
thanks, AC.
Yeah. Definitely, and then I'm gonna charge you $8,000.
Man, here's a couple hundred for that 9.
Yeah. Hey,
swing through. We're having a party off of this.
Yeah, gratuity and all that stuff. No, I'm serious. Like, you have to question that, right?
Oh,
and so, there may be a valid reason. I'm not saying that it's not a valid reason, but what I am saying is that I would question it.
So you're saying if you get 20% back on your return, that's an issue?
Yeah, because if it's overstated, then the IRS has, this is something that probably most people don't know, is that the IRS has 3 years to audit you for a tax return that you file timely. If you filed a tax return, so we're in 2020, we're filing for 2022. All right, so we're in calendar year 2023. The tax due date is April 18th, right? So if you file a timely tax return by April 18th, the IRS has until April 15th of 2026 to issue you an audit letter. So the IRS ain't rushing. They got 3 years to run it back. So you got $9,000 in 2022. They gonna spin the block in 2025 and say, hey, about that $9,000. Right. Yeah, we gonna need proof of income for this, and this.
I'm a good and spent.
Man, I'm like, that's
it was spent 2 weeks after you got it.
Man.
All right. But it's the back end, because the IRS knows they've got 3 years to audit a tax return.
Yeah. So they're gonna let
you live all the resources.
Yeah.
They're gonna let you live it up a little bit.
Yeah. And then they're gonna hit you when you can't repay it.
Yeah, when you ain't got it.
And not only are you going to have to repay that, but they're going to charge you interest and penalties. So that $9,000 that you got back turns into a $15,000 tax bill quick.
Yeah.
Quick.
Dang.
And then, you come into a CPA to try to fix it. Because Dante down the street did your tax return in his garage. And now you come to a CPA.
You calling John L for sure at that point.
Yeah, to fix it. I'm like, but there are things that we can do if you are in tax trouble, because that's a legitimate thing. There are people who are in legitimate tax trouble. I know people hear these these tax advocates. The IRS is making it easier for you to settle for pennies on a dollar. That's commercial. That's rhetoric. that's propaganda.
That's not real.
The reality is you are allowed, if you have valid reasons, to where you cannot pay the tax bill, to compromise. We call it it's called an offer in compromise, OIC, offer in compromise. You can enter into an agreement with the IRS to settle that tax debt for less than what you owe. It's a pretty invasive process. You got to produce financial statements. You got to produce bank statements. All that stuff. They get all in your business. But you are allowed to enter into an agreement and settle your tax debt for less than what you owe. That is legitimate. But to say that we can get you pennies on the dollar, that's a stretch.
That's the same as that $9,000 return.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dig it. Well, man, we want to thank you, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's always real when you stop through. But before we let you go, obviously visually we can see your contact information. But for those who are tuning in on the pod, the audio version, let them know how they can reach out to AC, the CPA.
Yeah, so thanks. You can visit our website at www.thejohnlgroup. That's TheJohnLGroup.com. You can email us at info@thejohnlgroup.com. You can follow me on social media on IG. I'm AC the CPA at AC the CPA. We have our page, which is John L Financial Services, is at John L Financial Services. Or you can call us at 810-310-8008.
Appreciate you, man. Like I said, man, our first guest who's been here 3 times. I'm not even sure if we've had anybody return twice, have we? No, we had Don.
Ross.
Yeah,
Don and Ross. Yes, we have some 2 Peters, but yeah, our first
The only
3.
other guy to take over the screen.
3 feet, man. 3 feet, man. Once again,
Hey, you got work to do though to take over the screen takeover title. There's a guy that outdid you on that.
Okay.
Hey, there was talk about we couldn't even get it back.
that was a good episode though, man. Yeah,
he was like, "No, I'm not giving y'all the screen back."
Shout out to Ross, man.
Yeah, shout out to Ross, man. Every time we get him on, it's basically his podcast. We just hear.
Yeah, we just getting the lesson.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I like the interaction. I'm an interactive presenter, so I like when people fire off questions.
Nah, man, yeah, I appreciate you, man. And like you said, man, we'll look at about this time next year.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, you might as well lock it in, man.
Lock it in.
Calendar, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
we'd probably be on episode. What would that be? Probably episode 120 or something by then.
Yeah. Man. Hey, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I love what you guys are doing here. When E called me up and said what you all were starting, I was like, man, that's a real good idea. Hops and stocks, okay. Craft beer and finance.
Yeah.
I gotta be sober, but if I got no buzz going on, we might get something interesting stated. Yeah. So I got to watch my my celebratory drinks every now and then, but so I don't indulge too much.
Man, you know what I need to do? I need to get you and Jay on here just to kick ish, man. Not just outside of the business realm. Just get you and him on here together, and we just chop it up, man. Just
we can chop it up. We don't have to always.
Yeah, we got to get him on outside of tax season.
Yeah, we go. Yeah. You know what? Let's plan that for the next 90 days or so. Get you on the schedule. Just you and little bro, man, and we just kick it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once again, man, we want to thank y'all for tuning in to the Hops and Stocks podcast, episode 70. Y'all check out our guy AC. Stop messing with these you know what I'm saying, these little store,
man, all in your videos.
You know what I'm saying?
Dancing.
AC don't want to call him by name, but we will. I don't got no connection to none of y'all. Holla at my guy, man. You know what I'm saying? Get a real tax professional, certified CPA to do your taxes. And stop claiming other people's kids, man.
Man.
We out, man. We gonna holler.
All right.
Peace.
Appreciate you, AC.
Yep, no problem, bro.
Hey, next time, AC, you got to tell us about your time as BMF's accountant.
Shell of a man if we ever depart. From my heart to I'm riding with you. I'm riding with you.
Hops and Stocks Podcast is presented by H&S Media Group. We encourage our listeners to drink responsibly. Please note, we are not financial advisors. We do not offer or provide financial advice. Trademark copyrighted by H&S Media Group.